So essentially, I do small business consulting all day, every day, and we talk about online all day. So let me go into a little bit of the agenda that I wanted to talk about tonight. There's basically 4 core things I want to talk about. So first of all was leveraging the power of Google Local for your business. And whether you're a brand new startup or whether you're a Fortune 500 company, I'm about to say something pretty startling. This is the most underutilized thing available right now that people really need to be taking advantage of. So that's one. I also wanted to talk about online reviews. So how to get somebody to trust your brand prior to reaching out. And that's big in the nonprofit space as well, you know, for investors and folks who are seeking that help. Third, so does paid search make sense for your business? I kind of want to talk about the pros and cons there. And I'm going to go through some case studies. So I went through a couple different case studies. So a little bit about us, just to set the picture, is because we're in a startup cafe, it's only natural to tell you that we were a startup in the 90s. So that's the space we were in the 90s, and we always had marketed ourselves online. So at the peak, if you can even imagine this in today's dollars, but we were spending about 50 grand a month marketing ourselves before Google AdWords existed. So it was a different form of paid search marketing. And today, what we formed is a company that, what Clayton and I do every day is we meet with 2 to 3 business owners per day, and we help navigate through the waters of, okay, I have a website, now what? Okay, I have an online brochure, now what do I do? What are some of my goals and how do I achieve that? And now we have about 6,000 clients nationwide and some of those clients in Canada. So 6,000 clients nationwide, and we work with a variety of a plethora of businesses, which keeps life interesting. So just to set the stage, so most businesses here, I want to ask a question. So in your businesses, how many people target like a 20-mile or less radius?
Opposite St. Louis, are you kidding?
Yeah, okay.
2 miles.
Yeah, convenience, right? So essentially, I have clients who are, shopping locally for a specialized item, a gift item, olive oil, etc. And I also have folks who are looking for patent attorneys, and that can just cross any sort of borders. 2014 was the year in which mobile surpassed desktop searches. So what does that tell us? Well, that tells us people aren't only looking for restaurants on their mobile anymore. They may be looking up, hey, that thought popped into my mind, I'm going to go search. What did that patent have to say? That nonprofit I saw, maybe a billboard, but what were they really about? Like, what's their mission statement? So oftentimes we see the path towards purchasing or even engaging with your firm looks very different today. And what I want to be really clear about is I want to break down the different sections of search. So we see a desktop here on the left and also a phone in the middle there. So whether I use Google or Bing or Yahoo, there's really 3 different sets of algorithm or mathematical formula happening at any given time. So before I started consulting, I thought, oh, the first page is the first page, big deal. And I didn't put a lot of thought into it. And today, what I know to be true is that there's really 3 different sections of search happening on any given search. So the left one here is actually a laptop, and it just shows the formatting difference between the mobile phone there in the center, how it might format different, your search different. But in the yellow at the top and also to the right there is what we refer to as paid search, or in Google, we talk about it as Google AdWords. So let me talk about the pros and cons in this space. I'm going to start with the cons because I like to start with the cons there. So the con is you pay per click. That is a con. Another con is it's a very sophisticated bidding process. When I started consulting 4 years ago, if somebody said, hey, I've got a Google AdWords campaign, I'm managing it, my response back then would have been to say, okay, great. Let me know if I can help take it off your hands if it's a time thing. Can you manage it? Yes, you can. Today, when somebody tells me that they're managing their own Google AdWords campaign, my throat constricts because I say, hey, even if it's not me, find a partner, because unless you have really a degree in this now, it's so complex. And what I mean by that is the algorithm on the back end, Google makes 98% of its revenue here, so believe me, they are intent on protecting the integrity of that program. So, now let me switch over to the pros. The pro is you can be found under the keywords that you want to be found under, on the time of day. You can track click to calls. So if somebody's calling you from this ad, Google provides reporting. And here's the best part, geography. So I can be found in the keyword I want to be found under, in the geography I want to be found under. That can be a zip code, that can be a radius, that can be statewide, nationwide, etc. So in the blue is what's referred to as organic. So this is websites, where websites would appear traditionally. And this is where content becomes so important. So back a couple years ago, what Google really valued was the meta tags or the back-end framework of a web developer. Today, what we see is less of an emphasis on the back end and more on the content. So content is king. We hear that over and over in my world, that Google wants to see that fresh, relevant content. So when you're spewing out those white papers for clients and you are so needed, because oftentimes businesses are so in their own space, right? Like they live it and breathe it, but you tell that story to an outside person, and that is so valuable. Because now somebody who's not in that space, can identify, I get it, and you're educating me, and blogging is where you really come into play here. So that's in the blue. And then in the red is this section called local search, or Google Places. So here's where my website can be elevated, along with two very specific things: online reviews, and also where I'm geographically based. So really, really fun. So I want to talk about that red section of search really quickly. So this is what all goes into that red section of search. So oftentimes people view Google Plus as, hey, Google Plus. I'm actually working with a CPA who moved in January. When I met with them in October of 2014, their address was still incorrect. And they're like, well, Cassi, we've went in to change it 3 times. I said, yes, but Google is reaching out to all these other 300 different directories, and they're not seeing that address change completed on those other directories. So therefore, Google is rejecting that change. So what this is what goes into local search, and this is what I said at the beginning is the most underutilized system right now within search engines. This is what we would call directory listings, and this is what can really be maximized for a nonprofit, for a local business, for a nationwide business. This is credibility and validation. I met with a bar and restaurant and grill, and they have a really big outdoor sand volleyball court, and he said, you mean to tell me I spend 4 hours of my Sundays updating 5 of these, and you can take this off my plate? I mean, it's that cumbersome. But it has to be done because it's what you can really leverage in order to get elevated in that red section of search there, which is huge. So let's say I own a local olive oil shop in Ladue. California olive shops were buying U.S. postal boxes in Ladue claiming to be local. Well, that defeats the entire purpose, right? So Google squashed that, and we cannot use post. It has to be where you accept mail other than a post office box.
But you have to update all of these sort of individually. There's no kind of one service. This is a great business.
Right. Exactly, and that's why you don't want it to be automated, because if one bad thing gets online, all the rest of them feed off of it, which eventually now it's somewhat of a trickle. There's no automated way to do it unless basically this is something that we've mastered. So I was going to go into some case studies. So let's go into case number 1. So title boxing. So title boxing, has anybody done one of their workouts? It's tough. It's really tough. So they had a couple challenges. So they're a franchise, and they're locally owned franchises. So they have the corporate support on the back end. But this guy his name was Brian, he had a couple big challenges because he had a brand new club opening up in a very, it was his target demographic, young, hip area of town, but there was also quite a bit of other gym competition. So quite a few other of his competitors, not quite in the same space, but quite a few other competitors in the same area. And corporate does a really great job with their corporate website and that sort of thing. But he really wanted a holistic approach to show up in his zip code when folks were looking for him. We wanted to do some cross searching. So if somebody's looking for boxing, chances are you're going to find him. We wanted to show up under group fitness, workout, that sort of thing. And if you'll notice, local search here in this section of search, this is actually a franchisee of mine out of Ohio, they actually shows up above websites. Now, if you're a web developer, how are you feeling in this moment? Irritated? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're set a little bit on your heels. Like, okay, I produced a beautiful website. Now this other section of search is essentially on the top fold of search results. And that's folks, my whole point here as to why this section of search is so valuable. Does that make sense? So he shows up so this client's been with us for 90 days. It takes us 2 years to get through all those many sub-search engines. So that's why it's so time intensive. But you can tell he's brand new. And he's showing up above people who've been there for 15 years. So that's really exciting now that he has front page placement. Now, are we going to settle for leaving him there at number 5 and say, well, Brian, glad we made it on the first page. We're going to walk away now. No, we're going to continue to climb there. What's most eye-catching on this search result, do you think? The map? Okay, cool.
The ratings.
What else? Ratings, the stars, good. So even though LA Fitness shows up, they only have a 2.8 out of 5 rating there. Here's the trick though, folks. Working out, there is extreme what? If you're trying out a new gym or a new workout class, what do you feel?
Pressure?
Uncomfortable.
Oh, comfortable.
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable, right? I don't care if you're an athlete or if I am 100 pounds overweight and I'm looking to get trim for the summer. It's uncomfortable. These reviews are going to build trust and make you more approachable for when somebody would be checking out your online schedule or considering you. So this is actually his Build Out Google Places page, and there's a big number on here that stands out to me. Does anybody see it? 41,000 views. This is how many times it has showed up in search results. This is why directories and building out all those sub-search engines are huge, because this is then a catapult to driving further traffic to your website. You want this to be the pre-brochure to your website brochure. You want your branding, this is a way to maximize branding, feel, and put further tentacles out there online. A website 5 years ago used to be a stagnant, hey, here I am, you come to me. Now, what Google Plus and all these Yelp, City Search, Monta, Facebook, this is now a way where you can approach your client and say, look at how credible we are and our branding is interchangeable. Let's talk about reviews. What I do love is a good mix of 95% positive and maybe one medium that you've addressed. Because
So
to
you
say,
right back to it and say, I'm sorry you had that
yes,
experience.
yes. What does that show when you see an okay review or a not good review? Valid,
Right.
authentic. If your website should be anything, it should be trustworthy and authentic. This is the Title Boxing Club to the left, so that's some of the positive reviews. What about these? They talk about late charges, spoke with Johnny. Like, this is authentic. This person is mad, right? And they can reference specific instances about canceling, that sort of thing. But, Google yourself. Make yourself aware as to if these reviews are out there or not. Be proactive and ask people for a review. Person on a flight wrote like a 6-paragraph, detailed, horrendous, ripping Southwest, to shreds. You know what they responded back?
Comes wise again.
We will miss you.
That's great.
I mean, that's Southwest. And they addressed it, and they were polite and courteous and said, we're going to part as friends. So anyways, reviews here. This is over the last 90 days, and we can see that over 9,800 views came to their Google Plus page in the past 30 days in March. And we've increased their local search traffic by about 30% there. So case study number 2, now this is statewide, so this is a little bit different demographic. They're a nursing college, but they actually had an out-of-state partner that they couldn't really get much feedback from. Like, I'm an educated person, and online's difficult, right? So, but people want handheld. Tell me what you're doing, right? Anyways, this is what they were feeling. And at the time, they were spending quite substantial money, about $12,000 a month. On a paid search campaign. So they had targeted nursing, acupuncture, and also massage therapy clients. And they had no reviews online. So that was their big beef as well. So if I'm a potential student, I have no idea about this college. I have no idea about the reputation or what's going on. So essentially what we did is we went about helping them to maximize their paid search exposure here. So here's a search for massage school. Now, here's what's really interesting about the paid search gamut. Do you see what's different and compared to the top search there? So you'll notice two things, that they have site links, admissions, military benefits, those are site links, and also you can tell exactly where it's located, 150 Taylor Station Road there. Guess who decides this?
Google?
Google. Our campaign on the back end is built out exactly like Heritage's, excuse me, that's the top school there. But guess what Google decided to show? Less of ours and more of theirs. This is why you need a partner. Because if we would do a different search under a different keyword, under a different time of the day, we would have gotten different results. And our ad would have looked like the top one, which is much more advantageous because in this particular instance, there is a width there. I mean, it's physically a larger ad than our ad, right? Yeah, twice. And it's very advantageous. So this is really why you need a partner in that space. We formed a custom landing page there so it's mobile friendly. So a lot of our folks may or may not have up-to-date websites that we're actually working with. So we actually help a landing page to help convert quite a bit of that traffic. So now we have student reviews. Now we are able to contact past students and people who are going through the program to get their feedback. So, let's talk about money. Let's talk about money. So an average cost per click is right around $6 to $8 for most industries. The one thing I did want to add though here is, so emergency dentist pay about $40 to $50 a click. And if you're in the contractor space, however, you're going to yield about a $2,000 or $3,000 job if that click comes to fruition. And also plumbing, HVAC, you can get to the $100 per click very easily. Okay, let me give you a brief history about why I think that people are anti-paid search. So essentially, when I was learning to use the internet, what I noticed in that section of search is there were very irrelevant results. So I would be searching for shoe repair, and it would give me a nationwide insurance ad. I learned that that wasn't relevant to my search, and therefore I skipped it. That's where I think people will say, who I don't use paid search, will say that. Now, fast forward to today, like I mentioned, Google makes 98% of their revenue from that section of search. If that is not relevant, Google dings you. If you are relevant, you get a lower cost per click over time. It's fabulous. However, if you'll notice something very, very minor here is that on the very top left, and this is hard to see, you see a small ad icon. So right here, there's a small ad button there. Previously, that spot used to be all shaded yellow. Today, where it's just that yellow icon. Folks, I'm going to tell you that this is my job. And last week, I was doing a search for something, and I clicked on paid search, and I didn't know I clicked on paid search. Like, this is the world we're living in. It was relevant to me. It said exactly what I wanted to find, and I clicked on it. And guess what? It gave me the results. So to say I don't click on paid search, I don't know if I believe you. So essentially, I just want to tell you about the results we've seen with this college. So we've seen a 30% increase in traffic, and most importantly, they have a very analytical marketing team. Who doesn't want to be analytical, right? To know that this stuff works. In the last 30 days, we can track about a call a day, 31 calls directly from our ad, and these are students who are paying $6,000 per year. So this is not like a small inquiry. This is, can I go to school here? What are the requirements to go to school here? How long is your program? Different things of that nature. And also 10 email inquiries. So we can actually track emails sent from our landing page to talk about enrollment specific questions, that sort of thing. That's what we count as a really qualified lead. Whose responsibility is it to tell us if that's a lead? Yes. That's where the rubber meets the road. If your nonprofit or if your business is not tracking how people find your business, you're doing yourself a disservice in marketing. And I don't care if it's newspaper, I don't care if it's online. There's an accountability there, and I'm very clear with that with our customers to say, hey, we can drive, our numbers look great. You know, or maybe they don't look great, I don't know. But I need you to be accountable to tell me how we're getting that traffic. Is it relevant traffic? Is it not? So here's a business that's really near and dear. So they're Clayton Jewelers, and they're right by the Cardinal Plaza, right by the Ritz. So Steven is the owner, and he's been in jewelry repair out in Chesterfield for quite a while. So really wonderful guy, does really talented work, high-end location. But the visibility, location-wise, is a little bit prohibitive. So he doesn't have a lot of drive-by traffic that says, oh gosh, pop into my store. It's kind of a destination type of store. So he really wanted to target a mix of custom jewelry as well as jewelry repair. So some low-end as well as some high-end to really help even out the bread and butter there. And he's in a very visual business, so we needed to showcase the work here. So when we approached him, this was a little bit underdeveloped. So he had around 100 likes on Facebook, and he had started an Instagram account, but really wasn't actively leveraging it to his benefit. So now what we have is consistent branding on all his platforms where we can really showcase his pieces. So this is his Facebook. We've been able to drive it to just under 400 followers. And his Google Plus page there. So you can see his number on Google Plus is drastically lower than the title boxing, and that's just due to the newness of his business. So we have about 5,000 views there, about 6,000, but we're working to drive that up. But what do Facebook likes equate to? So there's a term called social proof, and all that means is validation. If I am an 80-year-old business and I have 7 likes on social media, that makes me look less credible than if I'm a 4-year-old business and I have 5,000 likes on social media. All that's giving me is a larger audience to speak to. What it does not equate to, and I have people who really feel like a great social media campaign is going to replace their 20-person sales team. That's when I say, like no. This is a supporter of your other methods, but that's what it is a supporter. This is his landing page that we're able to convert traffic on as well. And he actually really strongly believes in marketing, so he does a radio campaign and spends quite a bit of money on that. And that kind of helps drive traffic to actually our searches online. So that buzz, I love all forms of marketing, so that buzz really helps to generate. But the great thing about online marketing is it's so trackable. Google has termed it 0 moment of truth. I am looking for what have you, and I'm going there in the moment. You're telling that person you are the right answer under that search. Other thoughts or feedback? You guys have been awesome.